Han Solo Mimban. After getting kicked out of the Imperial Academy, Han Solo found himself dumped on Mimban as a mud trooper. While there, Han met an Imperial prisoner named Chewbacca in an encounter that would change his life. Hello, and welcome to Centurion's Corner. And today we're reviewing Star Wars The Black Series Han Solo Mimban. So this is my first Han Solo figure. Not quite the Han Solo I was expecting to ever get for my first, but you know, this guy looks pretty cool. Or it could be an Imperial Trooper. So this guy, I picked him up from the going up London the other day. Picked him up for $15.99 from Forbidden Planet. And it was a good buy, because normally he's about 20 quid. I've seen him go about £23 now and again. So I saw him in Forbidden Planet and thought $15.99 for this guy isn't too bad. And as you know from the Chewie video, I absolutely loved Solo. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it's literally brought Star Wars back again. It's, you know, it's really quite a good thing. And I like these troopers as well. And I think my missus might like this one as well, because it looks a little bit like a Fallout trooper. And she loves the game Fallout. So here he is. There's his little picture down here. I kind of like him where he's got this kind of like the ATST kind of helmet sort of vibe going on. You know, and they just had a little play with it to make it look more kind of a little bit different, but not enough to be completely different. So we've got his little window, and we've got his gas mask, and we've got his gun there. On the side, it just says Han Solo and Han Solo Mimban. It's number 78 with his picture and his bio on the back. So, as always, without further ado, let's crack this bad boy open. Okay, so here he is in his blister pack. There's no hidden accessories there. I mean, to be honest, I think his cape was a bit hidden in the box. I didn't realise he had a cape on the back. So, yeah. So we get him out, have a first look. I'll take him away, test out his articulation, take some pictures that I'll show at the end of the video, and we'll go from there. So, let's have a look at his first impressions. So, first impressions, he looks pretty cool. You know, like his weathering. His face sculpt looks good. I haven't taken off the helmet or anything, so, and his cape and all that, the details look really good on him. So, I'll go away, I'll take some pictures, and then I'll see you in a mo. Well, so welcome back. So, I've been away, taken some photos, and had a good little play with a little Han Solo. And I must admit, this is probably one of those other Black Series characters that kind of fall into those sort of like what I call plus figures. So we've got like the Zuckuss, we've got the Jaina, and we've got the ones, you know, like Mace Windu, and all those other sort of like just the ones that seem to go a little bit above and beyond. So he sort of fits in with that new Obi-Wan Kenobi as well. Just where the face sculpt looks great, his body looks great, and he's got all those accessories as well. He's literally one of those must-have characters straight out the bat. If you want to get this guy, just order him now. Don't even bother watching the review. So when he was in his box, he looked like he had two accessories, which was his gun and his rebreather mask. But once you get him out of the box, he has about kind of 6 accessories really. So what we do, we go over those accessories and we slowly build up the trooper, because technically this guy is 2 figures in one. So you might have to go out there and spend £40 to get 2 of this guy. So we look at his first accessory, which is his helmet, which is just a generic, it looks a bit wider, so a little bit thicker than a sort of like an ATST driver helmet. And it's got some nice sort of burns and carbon scoring on there, and a little bit of weathering as well. It does look a little bit plasticky, but I'm okay with that. It looks fine. Like the colouring looks fine as well, so it doesn't look too bad. And we've got this sort of like little rubber sort of chin guard down here, and that fits on there. And just inside as well, we've got these little extra kind of plastic nub bits as well, and that's for a little bit later on. But yeah, in all, it's pretty good, and it fits on this guy's face. Well, we can see his face now, but we'll go over his sculpt a bit later. And just pops on, and that goes under his chin. So that's his first accessory. So second accessory is his goggles, which is kind of like what Rey was wearing at the beginning of Force Awakens, really. So it's just like a bit of like Stormtrooper sort of visor, goggles, and it's kind of made this sort of vinyl, bit stretchy. I mean, I'm a bit worried about these sort of going a little bit sort of dried out over the years and it's going to break, but the detail on there is alright, and you've got all the paint apps, which is fine, all the little straps, and then this side's got an extra sort of kind of like a torch or a communicator thing on there. Just get that, zoom in a bit, which is on there. And these just stretch over the helmet as well, which is absolutely fine, so you can just wear them just on top of his head, and which is mostly like the publicity shots, just like this with Han Solo. But this is where we can start saying goodbye to Han and putting these goggles down. I say Han Solo, sometimes I say Han, I don't know, maybe it's just an English thing. But here we go. So got his goggles there. So his next accessory we can look at is his rebreather. And again, this is done really nicely. It really sort of reminiscent of that kind of sort of like post-apocalyptic war, or even sort of World War II. It's the colouring and the sculpt and all that. It's actually really nice. And that goes into like some sort of like bendy tubes, and not too bad. And the silver applications on the rebreathers. So with these bits here, we got these little bits here a little bit harder than most of the other parts, and you kind of sort of rely on these bits to go behind these little nub bits in his helmet, and they kind of sort of like, once you put them in, they'll ping back behind it, and it will keep that rebreather in place. And you can just get a satisfying kind of little click when you pull it in. So there he goes, and we just pop that in his little backpack in there. They just slot in, just nice. We've got enough there. So he started turning into that mud trooper look now. And then his next accessory is his cape, and again it's done in that sort of vinyl kind of sort of look, and it's the only way you're ever going to get this sort of detailed cape. No sort of cloth cape really sort of do that, unfortunately, but that means they can put paint applications on it, they can weather it, they can put holes in it, and it just keeps that sort of thing there. So for play value, these capes are a bit naff, but for just displaying on the shelf it's fine. But again, because they're sort of posed in a specific way, it sort of takes away the posability of it, obviously, because this bit fits over his shoulder. So he's got these kind of bits that are just already sort of moulded into the cape. And looking at the references as well for this character, they don't in the actual Han Solo book, they don't have these bits here. It's actually, this bit is remade. It's supposed to be just the bits that's on his shoulder, and the cape sort of just fits in the back there. But obviously to fit it on his shoulder, they've remoulded them, that they sort of clip just over the top of them to sort of replace the moulded parts there. And unfortunately it doesn't really sort of click over place, it doesn't really fit on there, and it does kind of sort of just hang with its weight holding it in place. So when you sort of get him into a position, he does start to sort of, the cape just starts to sort of fall off, or it doesn't fit very nicely. But if you just want him to stand there kind of sort of like ready to take action, ready to go out in the sort of like into Mimban, then it's absolutely fine. So we go down to his last accessories now. So we've got his gun, and it's done really nicely. It kind of looks, it has done in a sort of like a grey moulded plastic, and it's got a very slight airbrushing over it. It picks up more on the camera than it does by eye, but yeah, it does really nicely. And it's kind of got the sort of E11 look there, but into like an extra stock on the end. So, and on this side here, we have the extra kind of accessory, which is a communicator, and that just pulls off there, and it's like a radio, and then that just comes off to his last accessory, which is there, and that just slides down these little grooves, and these got a little bit extra on the side there, and then we can just slide those straight down into place, just there, just nicely. And then he holds his gun very nicely. His cape might fall off, but yeah, we can just pop that onto his arm, and his other arm can hold the other end as well, which is just nice, just there, looking great and charming. So yeah, here he is in his Mimban sort of trooper outfit, I guess. So this is where you could keep him just as this, and have a Han Solo version as well next to him, where you got a Mimban trooper and you got a Han Solo in Mimban. So I mean, for me, he's a really big reminiscence, and I don't know whether they got the idea from it or one of the guys was just a fan and it was a little small Easter egg. But this is my missus statue of the Fallout character, and I just literally, to me, it just looks like the pinnacle of that. And I think that's quite cool. You know, it looks like Fallout. I love these sort of new troopers that they do bring out with Star Wars, as long as it sort of fits in quite well. And I think it fitted in quite well with that sort of like Han Solo part, because it's supposed to be kind of World War II, kind of sort of running in and just looking very gritty, a bit like Saving Private Ryan kind of type there. So I think they got that look down perfectly, and he looks great. So with that, we go over the sculpt. I know we normally go into posability first, but I'm just going to go over the sculpt of his helmet, so you can see all the parts all together, and then later on we'll do a full kind of sort of sculpt look with all the helmet and the accessories off. So you can tell, like, it's got the reminiscence of the sort of Empire, the Galactic Army on there, you know, where you've got the sort of very similar sort of Stormtrooper glasses going into the sort of what I would say like the AT-ST helmet. You know, I love it because it's just like a combination of everything. It's all kind of everything Star Wars. Kind of those people that dress up as sort of custom sort of Mandalorians, you know, where they put all these things together just to make up a new sort of Star Wars accessory. And you've got all those other Star Wars people out there like Dango and all that, and where it's all kind of sort of extra bit of old armour and it's all put on to make a new character. And that just sort of comes out in this guy. So yeah, just absolutely, I think he's brilliant. And from this as well, we can always go into different ways. You can always take just the goggles off and just have him with his mask on. You know, you could have the goggles off, back on, and take the cape off. You know, it's just how you want to display them and have them on your shelf. You know, it's just absolutely brilliant. So yeah, so what we do, we just take all his bits off, and then we'll go through his posability. So you always got to just be careful as you take these parts off, because they are a bit thin, unfortunately. They just all pop off, and just make sure you take his shin strap up over his sort of like mouth and then pull, because I can imagine that coming straight off. So we'll start with his posability. It doesn't really sort of lose a lot either with all that sort of stuff on him, is it? The only thing is obviously the cape kind of hinders him, you know, like to get him into other poses because it will fall off. But yeah, I mean, his head doesn't really move, so he looks down and he can't really look up because of his sculpt there. So you're not losing any posability in that sort of helmet part. The only time you might is like turning it around, but you'll still get that sort of bit there. But because of the straps and the sort of bits around there, you're gonna sort of getting bits falling off, but it's fine. He's got his upper arm comes up to about 90, and it doesn't rotate. And you've got to rotate at the elbow as well. And he's got one of those sort of hinge kind of sort of ones without, you know, without the screw pegs. He just comes up, and it's quite nice because it does come up more than a 90 degree. And this side does a little bit better with his trigger hand. So you can get those kind of sort of nice sort of poses with a two-hand sort of gun. And he's got rotation at the wrist, and it's also got a hinge, and then this one hinges up and down. And then he's got an ab crunch as well, but because this is quite dipped around on his side, he doesn't really get much of a crunch there. It sort of comes down. It's more like his head moves down and his back comes up that way. So yeah, he does have a rotation, which is quite nice, and you can get those into things, but obviously you can't do that when he has those cape on. And here he's got this sort of soft vinyl just to finish off his kind of outfit, so it doesn't really get in the way of his leg. So he can kick up this far, he can kick back this far, but that's due to the sculpt that he can't get his leg that far back. And he's got a double jointed knee, which is lovely, and he's got a rocker, and he's got his pivot on his foot. So articulation wise, again, he's not hindered by anything, which is great because they've nailed everything. They've done the sculpt, they've done the extra accessories, and also you can still pose him, which is brilliant. So with that, we'll go over his sculpt. And yeah, I mean, there's a few bits on here on this figure that I think they could have done a little bit more, because it's kind of like they've done a really good job. They went home the next day, and then they come back and then they're like, do you know what, we just finished it. I was going to do that, but I ain't going to do it. So, I mean, the face sculpt on this guy is absolutely amazing. It's the only Han Solo I have, and it's the only Han Solo I have of obviously like the young one. But I don't know the guy's real name, unfortunately. I know it's quite a long name, but I won't butcher it. But it looks like the actor. It looks brilliant, and you've got the sort of hair wash in there, and parts there for the dry brushing. Got a little bit of paint chip down there. I don't know whether that's through the helmet rubbing. But yeah, no, the sculpt is great, and it goes down into this sort of cloth bit that's under the armour, and then that goes into like this chest piece here, which is obviously like a sort of Lieutenant Armour's from Empire Strikes Back. And we've got his back plate as well. And when I saw this back plate, I was like, I recognise that, and I can't think what it is. And it's actually the back plate of a patrol officer, or patrol trooper. And I knew I'd seen it before, I just couldn't think where I've seen it. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the new part of the Solo, so I don't know whether it was a sort of slowly coming into the Stormtrooper parts and stuff like that. But yeah, it was kind of cool having sort of the same things. And then it's onto his sort of shoulder pads, and it's all done, all the sort of yellow sort of scraped away in the paint, and yeah, it's just done nicely. Got a little bit of ribbed sort of parts on there, and the same on the other side. And it's just got that sort of Imperial sort of lines about it. And then obviously it's got this sort of like raincoat sort of underneath, which is again reminiscent of sort of World War kind of sort of stuff. And we've got this sort of belt just there. Just underneath this though, it's a bit plain. And it's sort of like his legs look a little bit plain as well, and there's no sort of wash or anything on there. It's just literally the plastic, and I think that's where they kind of lost it here. They haven't done any kind of wash on the back of the armor. There's nothing wash on the legs, and then it's a shame because then these legs go into the same color plastic for his boots, which it just kind of sort of takes away from that character. I know it's probably that's the way it is, but to me it looks a bit cheap when it comes down here and it's all like the same color. It's like even the boot straps are not a different colour, and it gets even worse when you get to the shoes because they're very, very light grey compared to the rest of the armour, and there's no wash or anything on there, so they feel very sort of a bit strange looking when you sort of look at it in person. But apart from that, it's got these shin pads on here, and it's quite good actually because the Mandalorian trailer's just come out with a few sort of Mandalorian shots and stuff, and actually the Mandalorian wears this shin pad on his leg, on his right leg, but I'll put a picture up here just briefly of this shin. So yeah, it's quite good. Again, like it's like these sort of armors are reminiscing through, you know. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And again, I think this character is literally one of those characters to go out there. I mean, he cost me $15.99, and I think he's still out there because he's the last kind of release. So he's still roughly about 20 quid. He's not going to stand for me. He might do, or he might not. But there we go. Yeah, so it's still about 20 quid out there, and you know, I'd highly recommend this character. I mean, as an action figure, you got all these accessories and everything, which normally even some characters don't even come with like an accessory. They might even come with like a little gun. So this guy, value for money, is there. For the sculpt that everything you get with it as well is amazing. You know, so this guy needs to be in your thing. I mean, I was never a massive fan of the Mud Trooper. This character is actually sort of more appreciate that trooper design with all these little gubbins and stuff that you get with it. So, you know, for your shelf, he looks great to put him with your Imperial lot, and say that was a good film as well. For a collector, you're going to get him. So, guys, that's my review of Han Solo Mimban. Hope you enjoyed. Click the thumbs up. You can comment down below. You can follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you again. Bye.